So here's the situation. I have been crapping on the Fire Demon. Maybe not crapping on him, but whenever we summon him in a video, I'm like, oh, cool, I don't really know anyone that uses him, but I'm sure he's fun to use. Well, I found someone that actually uses Bael a lot. High-level RTA actually uses Bael a lot. We're going to take a look at that in a second, but first we're going to go over his skills. So the first skill, you know what the other demons do. Decreases the current, well, unless you don't. Decrease the current HP of the enemy with the best HP status, not necessarily the one that you're targeting. Best HP status by 10% and attacks the enemy target to inflict damage proportion to the reduced HP. This was a trick people were using in dungeon to like one-shot the boss when he first came out, and then they had to nerf it. Second skill, absorbs all other allies' HP by 10% to attack all enemies, dealing damage proportionate to the absorbed HP. Big damage. Covers the attack bar of all allies by 20% afterwards. I actually use the, I really like this skill. I use the Wind Demon as well. So this is like attack gauge increase, kind of like Vertiheel, kind of like Bastet, kind of like Bernard, whatever, right? So attack gauge increase. Then we have the third skill, Flames of Hell. Always perform an attack that has an attribute advantage on all enemies. Not bad. Blocks all enemies, boss excluded, from removing harmful effects for 1 turn. It's a new debuff, right? So we really haven't seen too much of this new debuff. He's the only one that has it. Inflicts continuous damage that can't be resisted by the number proportional to the damage dealt for 2 turns. So he has this debuff where they can't cleanse it, and then he also has big continuous damage that's based on the amount of damage dealt. So I found someone that's using him on a regular basis, consistently in RTA, and doing very well. So let's take a look at that now. I should have warned you guys in advance that there are LD5s involved in this team, but you don't necessarily need these specific LD5s to run this team. It's just the general comp of outspeed, do attack power buffs, defense breaks, strips, big damage. So he bans the attack power buff, and he bans the attack power buff and speed buff, which is also a strip in itself. So he gets the AoE, all these debuffs, irresistible debuffs, right? Big damage here. Lots of continuous damage. All those cleanses actually, or that inability to cleanse is actually really nice against the Tetra. So Tetra is a counter to the Nephthys. You guys like, yeah, let me just summon a Tetra and a Nephthys. I clicked on this video thinking I was going to be able to use this Fire Demon. You can use the Fire Demon without this other stuff. This happens to be the team that he's using. If you have LD5s and they're usable in RTA, you're probably using them in RTA, right? So yeah, but the Fire Demon did what he was supposed to do. He did big damage on top of all those debuffs, right? So they didn't have any attack power buff. They just had the defense break and they had the defense break, they had the heal block and everything. Now this is just going to be a matter of trying to out-sustain more than the damage that the Japanese player. And Swift is actually a good player too, if I recall correctly. He's not really always C1. Usually he's higher than that. But I remember him being on my favorites list for a bit, if I recall correctly. But yeah, and that's game here. There's so many debuffs. Still crits on that. But yeah, this is just trying to out-sustain or out damage the amount of sustain that they had. Next match, opponent first picks the Fire Art Master. Actually, picks all 3 Art Masters. Has 2 different speed leads, has 2 different very, very, very fast units. So that means he has to make sure that his Triton is faster than the Art Master, and he also does wind up stripping and doing all of those debuffs. And then the Demon was just going to come in, he was just going to nuke everything after that, right? There was nothing that was going to survive. Everything, Demon has element advantage over everything, so that was just, that was a fast GG. Whoever gets turn 1 wins in that situation. With all this damage, with all these resets and all these different debuffs, whoever gets turn wins. Next match, it's going to be the same team again, the same Fire Art Master, Demon, and Nephthys. He doesn't go with the Samat, he goes with the Poseidon, right? Bans out the Leo, he wants the Poseidon to do as much damage as possible. Opponent actually did not have any leader skills, right? So he gets the strip on. Here's the thing that I want you guys to notice, though. If you're having trouble with these speed cleave comps, like getting hit by these speed cleave comps, and you're like, I don't know how to counter them, take a look at the opponent's side. All of their units, well, maybe not the Lulu, right? But the other units, including the Leo, which was banned, all of them had passives. So really, passives is the way to go against these aggressive, fast control comps, and you see a lot of the OP LD5 things, like ragdolls and things like that are passive units, right? That are nice to counter AoE control, AoE damage teams. So just keep that in mind if you're having trouble fighting against these teams. And even so, like, regardless, these are strong, like fast, aggressive teams are strong. So if you're having trouble fighting them, that's natural. It's a strong team, right? These teams are strong. But yeah, just keep in mind that passive units with a lot of rune efficiency, a lot of tankiness, a lot of resistance, a lot resist it if it works, right? Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Who even knows? But a lot of speed, a lot of tankiness to make sure that you actually survive and sustain. And then resistance also. Sometimes, I don't want to say it actually plays a part all the time, but sometimes it helps. Maybe. Who knows? I bet you guys can't possibly guess what he's going to pick for this match. Well, the real question is he going to pick the Samoth? So he's got a speed lead on the enemy side. He goes for the Samoth as well. So he's got 2 speed leads. He's got 2 very fast, swift strippers. I was caught myself. I was going to get tongue-tied with that, right? So let's see. Does he get the... He does get everything stripped. He goes for the scroll trap on Ragdoll so he could do the damage without having to worry about the enemy getting extra attack gauge. Then he gets the attack power buff, speed buff. The Samoth does not go first. So since the demon goes first, the Joker comes back from the dead. The Joker is going to be able to bomb his team. Is that going to do enough damage to completely... Well, actually, the Wunsa stays alive because the Wunsa had immunity because he stripped the immunity from that first turn, right? So then Demon does skill 2. Demon's got the attack gauge increase, but that also, by doing the damage, increased the Ragdoll's attack gauge as well. You guys know how Ragdoll works, right? So Samoth is still going to come back from the dead, still going to do some damage here. Goes for a yin-yang attack. Wait, is this on... okay, so it's on he's on Violent and not Vampire. If that was a Vampire Ragdoll, that would have been a different story, right? Sometimes Ragdolls work better on Vampire because they can solo. Sometimes they work better on Violent. More people nowadays are putting Ragdolls on Violent, though, for quite a while. I don't know exactly when it started, but for quite a while they've gone from the Vampire to the Violent for the Ragdolls. Next match, I'm sure it's going to go exactly the same as all the other ones. Ciara and the Moor and he goes for Shimite. He doesn't go for the Samoth, he goes for the Shimite. So I'm curious why he specifically went for this. I mean, it's for the most part, it's very similar comp, right? Just went for the Shimite instead. Opponent's picking, or opponent already picked, a Dark Slayer. And he's got another, look at that, another water Joker. So keep that in mind. Very free-to-play friendly unit. Well, somewhat free-to-play friendly unit, I guess. Water Joker. It's easier to get than LD5s, and also is a nice unit to counter some of the aggressive comps because he comes back from the dead, and he also has a and he also has a big damage bomb skill, right? So you see that he's already been used against aggressive teams twice. So, and that actually could have detonated that bomb. So, just wasn't enough damage. Wasn't enough damage to actually counter this team. To clarify something I just said, I was talking about the Nyx passive detonating the bomb when he attacks. That's not correct. He doesn't change the duration of the debuffs when he attacks. He changes them when they are applied. So the bomb was actually a 1-turn bomb instead of a 2-turn bomb when it was actually applied. So that was incorrect information what I said first. I just wanted to make sure that I clarified it for you. So take a look at what the enemy banned the defense breaks, right? Pretty smart. He still has the attack buff and the speed buff, but they're tanky enough that he's like, you know what, I can just, I can handle those. He only has the one source of defense break, and then a lot of debuffs as well, but he was like, I'm just going to not worry about those. I'm just going to make sure that I get those, the defense breaker, right? So he finally revenges with the Vertiheal. I mean, Vertiheal doesn't have a 100% revenge chance when he has triple revenge. Sometimes he feels like he does. But he doesn't have a 100% revenge chance. Okay. So he did revenge again. Do some damage. Take a look again at what the enemy is using to counter his team, though. Is just a bunch of passives. And also Ragdoll. I mean, it helps if you have Ragdoll, I guess. Welcome to Summoner's War in 2021. You gotta have some kind of LDs versus LDs versus LDs versus LDs. Isn't that how RTA has always... That's how RTA has always been. But yeah, the takeaway from this is the opponent was bringing in a bunch of passive units again to counter the team that he was using. Next match, same picks. I think you probably have figured out that was going to be the same picks. Opponent is trying to contest speed, though. Brings in a Chu, brings in an Ashir, bans the Ashir. Ashir has 115 base speed, so they both banned out the things that had the highest base speed. almost outspeeds with the Chiwu, but does not quite outspeed. And now this is game because they don't have enough sustain. It was just a matter of who gets turn 1 at this one. Like, everything is kind of like on the squishier side. So whoever got turn 1 there was gonna get the win. They had a lot of debuffs on the enemy side. It would have been very dangerous if... And G3 player too, so you know that they were very fast. So it was basically here just whoever gets turn 1 wins. They tried banning the fastest units on each team. And then the what's it called? The Jogun wound up winning, or wound up being faster. And they didn't have will runes on the Chiwu either. Next battle, first pick Oki goes for... I mean... The Japanese players go for the same picks as usual, right? The same picks as usual. Trying to contest speed. Both of them are trying to contest speed. Bans out the 33 speed lead from each side, right? So he still does have a speed lead on the Japanese player side, but he does also have the Ragdoll. Does not Ragdoll's passive does not actually cut in. We did not see any crits. So I wonder if that is runed specifically to not crit. At this level of the game, if he's fighting a lot of Ragdolls, that may be the situation where he specifically made sure that it does not have high crit rate. This way, it doesn't crit as much as possible. Because sometimes things are actually ruined like that. Like, oh, I'm going to take this. I'm going to hit a lot of Ragdolls with this comp specific. Again, welcome to Summoners War 2021. At a certain level, you're just always hitting the same LD5s, right? The same whatever meta LD5s are there. So... outsped because he banned the 33 speed lead. Ragdoll wasn't even an issue because he didn't crit. And then GG. And then he was able... And this was another battle of whoever's faster actually gets the win. We're seeing the same, like, two comps that this comp is going up against is a bunch of passives or trying to outspeed, right? So there's not a bunch of... There's 3 passives on the team. There's 3 passives. There's the Molong. Gets the strip. Gets countered... Gets the CC. Okay, so gets the CC on the defense breaker. This match would have been over in a couple seconds if he actually got the defense break, right? So didn't get the defense break. Does a decent amount of damage here. Does only one of those new debuffs. New debuffs. Bael, at some point you're gonna have to stop saying new debuffs. I always feel like I still call like fight runes like the new rune sets. Guys, those new fight runes, that's basically game. They cut in a little bit. They did interrupt. They did stop the Nephthys from doing her thing turn 1, but then they still did enough damage, and they still did attack age pushback with the Poseidon, right? Because Poseidon, he's taking it against the fire units that have passives, like the Molly. I know Molly's not a fire unit, but the Molly, Juno, Vertiheal, because, you know, water unit against the Vertiheal plus attack age pushback and element advantage on the fire units and everything. So mostly for the attack age pushback to Poseidon though, right? This way the Vertiheal, if Vertiheal does do his thing, he doesn't really have to worry too much about it. Opponent first picks a Molly. First picks a Molly. Not really I mean, he's in G1, but not really a meta first pick. Maybe he knew what comp, they didn't fight before, but maybe he knew what comp he was going to be going into. But again, what did I say before? I said passives. Passives are strong against this comp. People are using passives to counter this comp. That light Onimusha is super meta. Super meta this season. I wonder if he gets changed in a balance patch. I don't feel like he really needs to get changed. I think he's just strong. I feel like he should stay strong for a bit before he gets an adjustment. But man, you see, the rank 1 is even using the light Onimusha. So using the light Onimusha, using some of the other very, very strong passive units right now. So that's kind of the name of the game, is use passives against this aggressive turn 1 control cleave kind of thing. So, and then also another thing to counter the light Onimusha, you can use the other Onimushas, right? Because they're gonna do big damage, but they're also not gonna crit anyway, right? Because the light Onimusha can't get crit on. But that's another GG for this one. All right, guys, that's it for this one. Just wanted to show some Fire Demon because I saw someone using him, and I'm like, you know what? I've been mentioning him in Saturday morning summons or other summon videos. We've been doing so many summon videos lately. Actually, I've only uploaded half the summon videos. We're doing much more summon videos. I was gonna upload another summon video tonight, but I'm like, let's do something else aside from summon videos, right? So I know I've been mentioning him in the summon videos anytime we get him, because we got a few of him lately, and I'm like, I don't really see anyone using him. We got to see someone using him in some gameplay. I know some of you are going to be like, well, yeah, you bring him in with 2 LD5s, of course he's going to be. But the thing is, it's mostly just using Nephthys as a speed lead and a defense break, number 1, and then using the Dark Pioneer as a very, very fast stripper, right? You can use other strippers. You saw he used the Triton as well. You can also use the Chiwu. Chiwu has a speed lead and a strip, so Chiwu would be another nice option for that team. So yeah, at least we get to see some Bael. We didn't really get to see too much of his new debuff. I keep calling it the new debuff. It's been in the game for a while at this point, but we didn't really get to see too much of this. But one of the nice things, one of the reasons he's bringing this in, I mean, we mostly just got to see him for damage, right? But one of the reasons that he's bringing him in is because the enemies are bringing a lot of passive things, you know, things to cleanse the Nephthys debuffs. So he's bringing the Bael in. Bael's got the new, again, the new debuff to stop those things from cleansing. So that's one of the reasons that he's actually using this in the comp, or he or she. I don't know, right? You never know what people's profile icons, whatever. Anyway, that's it for this one. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully those Bael owners out there get a little bit more idea how to use them and stuff. Anyway, that's for this one. See you guys as always. I can't talk today or ever. See you as always in the next one.